Hi everyone, so we have now the Black Shark 2. This is the proper Black Shark 2, not the Helio version that a lot of people were calling the Black Shark 2, because this is a true successor with the latest flagship chipset in it. So it has the Qualcomm Snapdragon 855, 8GB of RAM and 128GB of storage is my particular version here. So this has a bit of a bulky build to it because it apparently has an additional layer of cooling on there. They've got some marketing that they've put more copper in, more heat transfer pipes, so it should run cooler than everything else, giving you even more frames per second. But a little spoiler here, that it actually doesn't seem to make any difference at all to me. Maybe if you left it gaming and charging at the same time for 5 hours, there might be a bit of a difference. It does get warm on the back, but the performance is really good. So, screen on this one is an AMOLED panel, 6.39 inches. It's very nice, it's very bright as well, and we'll go into some detail with everything of this phone and take a look at it exactly. But first we'll start out and have a look at what we get with the Black Shark 2. So at the time of this video, unfortunately, China, everywhere I checked, and in the EU, no one has the controllers for it. They're called the Black Shark 2 Pro controllers, so a left and a right hardware controller that clip onto the case, as you can see here from the official press info, but out of stock. Out of stock everywhere, so this is really silly that we can't even get hold of it at the time of the release of the phone. Now this one I got from Trading Shenzhen, and they included a Type-C adapter to USB, and we have right here an adapter here for EU for me. So right here we have a SIM tray tool, and they did give us inside the box a TPU case, a clear one. So this one here has a transparent little, more of a cutout bit there for the logo there, so you can see of course the colors coming through from the lights, and on the side too. It protects all the buttons, and it will protect the cameras and the screen with that, so that is good. And then we have the charger. It's quite a big charger, but I'll tell you why that is, and that's because it has a maximum output now of 20 volts. So this is now Qualcomm's Quick Charge 4 that it's using, and the charge times are very quick. It takes around about an hour or so to charge it, which is really good. And then we have right here our cable. So that is a Type-C to 3.5mm adapter, and then a black short Type-C to USB cable. It's interesting to note too with the case that they put these little rubber pads on the bottom of it. I think that's for grip and also to stop it from sliding off any tables or anything, which is a nice little touch. They've done this. Oh, and it is, of course, 209 grams. Now, the thickness of it, it is almost 9mm thick, and then with the camera bulge, it comes up to 9.8. So it's not the slimmest or the lightest phone out there. Of course, being extra chunky with a larger battery. So let's have a look at the build of it now in a little bit of detail. So what we have are not the slimmest bezels. Okay, top and bottom, the sides are good, but top and bottom we do have a bit of a chin, bit of a top here. But I like the fact they have not used a notch here. This, to me, is almost a little bit refreshing after all these notch flagship phones that I've been looking at with teardrop notches and the water drop notch. So we do have two front-firing loudspeakers. I'll give you a sample of them later on in this review, but I wanted to mention now, to me, they're a little bit disappointing. They need to be punchier. They need to be a little bit louder. You can see antenna lines here on the side. We have this green accent all around. So it's metal, the whole build, the frame of it. On the rear, there is a little bit of plastic, which I will show you now. So you can see here we have a RGB color logo there with Black Shark and this finish around it. So this is a combination of an alloy they've used here with this plastic around here. The metal volume up and down buttons, they feel good. And the buttons on the left-hand side here, sorry, the right, we have a power on and then the switch for the dedicated gaming mode, which I will show you in this video too. On the bottom of the Black Shark 2 here is our Type-C port. So that little dot here, that's not actually the microphone. This is our SIM tray now. Within it is 2 nano SIM slots, no micro SD card support. The microphone for voice calls is actually part of that front-facing loudspeaker. And then along the top of the phone is our secondary mic here for video and noise cancellation. I don't particularly like the location of it, and the reason is that when I was recording videos, as you'll see in this video, my video samples, that sometimes if you move your hand around, you do get that scratchy kind of noise come through. And then our two rear cameras here. So the main one is a 48 megapixel sensor that does that by filter pixel binning, so it'll take a 12 megapixel shot. There doesn't seem to be any 48 megapixel mode that I can enable through the camera settings. And then we have a 2x fixed optical zoom or maybe even digital, that just gets twice as close. That one's just a 12 megapixel sensor. So in hand, this phone actually does feel really quite good. It feels solid, well made, and yes, as I mentioned probably the third time now, a bit chunky. I wanted to point this out here too. So this gap in the glass where we had the front-facing loudspeakers, I really wish it was flush with the glass. You can see already it's picking up little bits of lint and dust from being in my pocket. Not great. So for the screen, we don't have like a gaming screen that has a high refresh rate. Unfortunately, this is still 60 Hz, this panel. So it is 6.39 inches. It's an AMOLED panel from Samsung, and it has a resolution of 2340 by 1080. The maximum brightness is about 710 nits, which is good. So you can see it in direct sunlight. It's not the best I've seen. I think that goes to the Samsung panels that can push then about 1000 nits of brightness. The gamma is about 2.3. It should be 2.2, but it's not too far, so it's good there. And you can see here with real-world images that the screen does look very good. Now, if you see any vertical or horizontal banding coming through, that is just on the camera. It's something that seems to happen whenever I record AMOLED panels or OLED panels. I sometimes get like this little flicker thing happening, but trust me, that is just on camera. So overall, very good screen, and of course the blacks are super deep being an AMOLED. I'll just also give you a close-up of the screen here. You can see how nice it is. I think it's actually a better panel than the one in the Xiaomi Mi 9. And the touch response, very, very quick. No problems with the input there. It detects it straight away. So let's take a look at the ROM. Now, the first thing that strikes you when you boot this up is, wow, it's ugly. I mean, the icon set, the theme that they have on this, wow. They're trying to make it look gamery. Is this gamery to you? To me, it's very ugly. But of course, you can change that with themes and whatever. You can probably run Nova Launcher, Apex Launcher, things like that if you wanted to. Now, I wanted to point out the performance of this is not like MIUI. This is Joy UI. It's slightly different, even though they do share some applications. For example, the camera app, I'll bring that up really quickly. That is completely stock Xiaomi, okay? So that's a normal Xiaomi camera app. I'm using full screen gestures at the moment, and there is no real lag. Now, I've been running Fortnite, a couple of games here, and I haven't seen any real noticeable stutter. Maybe a couple little tiny micro stutters, but nothing like MIUI 10 that is currently running. Notifications are all showing, okay? I've got a couple of text messages, WhatsApp messages. They're all coming through, Twitter as well. We'll demonstrate the performance of that in just a second. In fact, I'll do that right now. So Twitter, this is going to load up. The scrolling, you can see, there's a few things that need to cache in with the images and video, but overall the scrolling is very, very fast. One thing about this phone is the touch input is really, really good. They claim to have apparently a 240 refresh rate there, 240 hertz, the touch digitizer, but of course the screen is only 60 hertz. It's not a 100 hertz panel, which I feel for a gaming device they should have really done. So the performance is good there. It takes a little while to get used to. You cannot use, for some reason, I wanted to put Google Play Store down here, for example. They won't let you put 5 icons down the bottom there with it. Now you do have some kind of bloatware. I'll point that out just now, so I'll go through a few things with the gallery. And overall, here we go into the screenshots. So that when you start it out, you're going to have it completely stock like this. You get over 100 gigabytes free on the 128 gigabytes version. Now, because I have the Chinese model, Google Play Store had to be installed. But once you do that, you use the Google Play installer version 3, I think it is, or maybe 4, and that will install fine without any problems there. So there were 2 updates that came through, and it took a while. The server was a little bit slow, even though they weren't actually that big. You can see about 111 megabytes. This one was 171, for some reason a little bit slow. So as expected with Xiaomi, okay, Black Shark, independent company, sub-company, whatever, of Xiaomi, a security level 3 here. So no Netflix, no Amazon Prime, and full HD with this, sadly, because it is a nice screen. It would be good to have that. So camera 2 API is level 3. This is good to see. And this is our memory use. So on first boot, well, after running it for a little while, you're going to have about 5.5 gigabytes free with the 8 that this has installed. Now, there is a version that has 12, which is kind of crazy. All right. Multitasking, I've noticed that it's still, even with the 8 gigabytes of RAM, it will kill things off after a while unless you lock them. You have to lock the apps, and then it will stay in memory there, which is good. So the screen recording settings, this is probably one of the things that I know there's apps out there on Play Store, but this, at least, will let you know okay, that you can record with much better quality. Well, 30 frames per second by the bitrate of 20 megabits per second. A lot of those apps kind of level out at 10 megabits per second. So I've done a test with it and it seems fine. You can record the sounds with it too, and a few little options here. So the wireless performance, very good, okay, really good. This is in fact better than the Xiaomi Mi 9, even though it has the same chip. I'm always averaging over 300 megabits per second, which is really, really quick for a mobile phone. So that is really good there. The 4G speeds, wireless reception, call quality, good, no complaints. There's nothing really to talk about here. It's all going to depend on your carrier, the kind of speeds you're going to get there. So we do have, if you see here, when you see this CF, that of course is carrier frequency, and you can see level 5 and level 1, and then B1. So yes, it is dual band, dual frequency. It works well, and you get about 4 meters of accuracy. That's all I got there. The internal storage is very quick here, so sequential read of almost 800 megabytes per second and 200 writes. This is what the Mi 9 is getting, so it has UFS 2.1 storage, so absolutely no bottlenecks or lag here whatsoever. It's very, very quick for a mobile phone. And just like all my other reviews, I wanted to show you the Antutu score, but I can't for some reason. I've tried to install the Antutu 3D files, and I've given it all the permissions I can. I've installed it, I've reinstalled it. I can't show it for some reason, so I'm really sorry about that. But the Snapdragon 855 is going to get a score very similar to the Mi 9, okay? So expect somewhere around 350,000 to 380,000, so very good, very potent GPU, as you can see. And if I put that score up against, for example, another flagship Android chip, which this is the Kirin 980 and the Huawei P30 Pro, you can see that one gets over 300,000 there, but see the difference in the GPU. So it's quite a bit faster, this GPU. And as I mentioned later on when I show you some gaming, it is Android's fastest GPU at the moment. And in the phone settings, you'll find this. So you've got controls here for the logo on the back, okay? So the logo has just a tiny little LED here. Well, various different LEDs to give us RGB colors. You can see it just now. Now, I've kept my lights on. If I turn them off, you'll see it a little bit better, but I've noticed that it's not actually that bright. They could have increased the brightness here. And then you get the side LED strips here too. Again, they're a little bit brighter, those ones. I'll give you a demonstration of those too. So you can change all the colors and tweak that here. These are the settings we've got. So for the logo, you've got your incoming calls for the side lights here. And you're able to also tweak them if you like. All of that kind of thing. It's a little bit gamery. It actually looks cool, the side lights. So I'll just give you a quick little demo now what they look like. So this is what it looks like. You actually only get either side just the green, but it does this pulsing effect, which does look pretty cool. And the overall build quality, as I mentioned at the start, is very good at the phone. It doesn't detract from the build at all, having these side LED lights. So we have in-screen fingerprint unlocking with this phone. So it takes about a second. Well, a little bit over that. It's not quite as fast, I noticed, as the Mi 9, but I believe it's the same exact hardware they are using. It's optical, of course, and there it goes. Now, face unlocking as well, that works. It's even faster, but of course, way less secure. I'll demonstrate that now. So, tap, and then look at it, face matching. Okay, now that failed because I have my tripod in the way, so I'll do that one more time and face it more towards me. There we go. And that is the kind of speed you normally get. It's very quick. Unless, of course, you're in low light and it does struggle a little bit more there. Moving on to audio quality. So there is no 3.5mm headphone jack, which I'm really against, especially on a gaming-focused mobile here. I think they should definitely have it because a lot of gamers are going to be using headphones to get better immersion, better stereo separation, so you can hear when someone's coming, for example, on the left side of you. It just makes sense. So why they drop it on this phone beats me. I don't understand whatsoever with their move. But the quality, when you use a 3.5mm adapter, of course Type-C to 3.5, it sounds good. It's typical Xiaomi. I really have no complaints. It could be louder. Now the speakers as well, they could be louder. For a gaming phone, I really think they do need to bolster up. So we have the two frontwards firing speakers, so one here and one here. This is great having the dual speakers, especially for a gaming device. It's just the loudness. But here is a sample now of what it sounds like. To demonstrate now the gaming mode, so if you wanted to game and you can just flick that switch, then you don't have to do it, you can just launch a game normally, of course. So you do that, it tells you that you've now entered what's called the shark mode. Wow. Okay. and it does this annoying kind of cutscene. It tells you the games you have installed, and it clears the memory. So you can either accept calls, reject calls, whatever. And here are the options for the controller. So it would be really nice to have this, but think about it very carefully if you're going to get this phone about the controllers, because they cost 89 euros, okay? The phone is 649, I think it is. Sorry, 549. So you're going to be paying way over 600. Is it worth it? I don't think it is. I think the Mi 9 has the same exact performance. But anyway, left and right controller. As you can see, they're different from the Black Shark 1, from the Black Shark Helio. So here we go in Fortnite. I'm not going to show you a lot here, just to let you know that it's limited to 30 frames per second. That's the highest frame rate setting they will give us for some reason, even though this GPU, I think, can handle 60. So why don't they give it 60? No idea why they're doing that. You can see performance is really quite good. I'll just jump on this a little. You can see here that no real kind of lag that I can detect. It is on the ultra setting. Maybe a couple of little stutters just then. Now there is this option that you have with the built-in Game Shark settings. So if you swipe like that, you've got what's called Master Touch. Okay, when you bring up the menu. Now this is using the screen pressure sensitive sensing. So you can either turn it on the left and the right area. So it gives you a vibration letting you know that it senses it. I don't really see it actually adding much at all. So just get out of that. You've got the areas that you can configure it to for your game, left and right, which I have done. And this game right now is Shadowgun Legends, which of course runs just fine. So when I press down hard, I can feel that vibration, but I don't really see what else it's adding apart from just the haptic feedback vibration. 60 frames per second setting, ultra high settings, looks really, really good, performing just as you'd expect for Android's fastest GPU here. So absolutely no problems running this kind of game. This little stutter just then, but that's more to do with, I believe, Android caching and things like that. Okay, you can zoom in with the scope, and no problems. So PUBG is looking very good, fantastic. The screen is helping because of the saturated colors that it seems to have by default. And you can have no problems with the frame rate, you can see. On even this HDR setting, so it is an HDR screen too. It's looking good, very good. And when I zoom in here with my scope magnification, no slowdown, no lag. And of course, if I had the joystick, then I could be using that for the triggers, the controls, and for aiming. Going at least to use the scope, and then to fire, I could use those triggers, those controllers, which would be nice, but of course, it's not out, so I can't show you that. Okay, I can't give you exact battery time at the moment because I've only had the phone for a while and I keep plugging it in to pull off photos and everything like that. I keep resetting my stats, but I can give you an estimate. So right here, the screen has been on for an hour and 12 minutes. I've been gaming, downloading, benchmarking, and it's holding up really well. It's at 88%. So that's giving us, you could say, a screen on time. Well, the estimate, you can see already down the bottom, says 9 hours. So 9 hours of screen on time. I think that's going to be definitely doable with the 4000 mAh battery, with of course the efficient Snapdragon 855, which is actually quite good on battery life. 7 nanometer does of course help out there. So I think full on gaming, probably about 6 hours that you can expect with this, but this will be, I think, for everyone, definitely heavy users, you're going to make it through a full day, which is really good. So onto the camera now. The weather is against me this week, tomorrow, and the next few days forecast for bad weather storms. It's raining at the moment. And you can see front-facing camera does not have any electronic image stabilization. This 20 megapixel camera is, I think, the same sensor used in the Mi 9. The audio quality could also be improved too. So hopefully with a firmware update, they could add electronic image stabilization to this camera. So not the best weather to show you what the cameras can do on this phone, but they will be similar to something like, I believe, the Redmi Note 7. But here we have no electronic image stabilization with 4K video. It seems to work on 1080p only. I don't know why this is. It's got the same chipset as, of course, the Mi 9. Perhaps they haven't enabled it because they want people to buy the Mi 9 for better cameras. Now there is no way to swap over now to the 2x zoom camera, not with the application here. Okay, now to answer my question that I've been asking, is it worthwhile going for this phone, which is bigger, has more battery capacity, better battery life, but it costs an additional €100 more with worse cameras than the Mi 9? And no, completely no, 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 no. I would say save your money, unless of course you must have the Bluetooth controllers for this phone. That's going to cost you an additional €89. So when you add that up, you're paying over €600 for a phone that has the exact same performance as the Mi 9. I don't think it's worth it at all. The marketing hype behind this, of course, that it's got the faster screen, blah, 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 blah. I see no difference with gaming, okay? It's just marketing to me. Get yourself one of these, I would say. A Bluetooth controller. There are ones like this one that can hold your phone, and this is actually a lot more comfortable than the Game Shark controllers. I don't have the Game Shark controllers because for some stupid reason they haven't been released at the same time as the phone. They're out of stock everywhere. I don't know when they're going to be in stock. And I have tested them on the Black Shark 1, and yeah, they do add a little bit more, but they're way more uncomfortable than, say, of course, using one of these. So I will start out and just give a very quick recap that we have a very nice screen that I think is a better screen than Mi 9, but again, not worth the extra money. Front-facing dual loudspeakers, good, but not actually as loud as they should be. No NFC on this one. NFC on this one, we have no wide-angle camera. The front-facing camera looks to be about the same. We're missing out on the stabilization with video, 4K video at least, which is really disappointing, typical Xiaomi. But the notifications come through on this one. It is a very good build to it. Okay, we have the nice gamer LEDs on the side and all that if you're really into it. It is not a bad phone at all. It's just I don't believe that it's worth the extra €100. Not at all, okay? So that is my review there of the Black Shark 2. I hope you liked it. If you did, please do give a thumbs up and subscribe for more up-and-coming reviews from me. Bye for now.